everyone. Hi, how are you all doing today? Great, tired. But I can see all smiles and everybody is ready to complete this journey ahead. We, Fashion TT, Creative TT, would like to thank you for being here, all the guests, parents who've supported the students for this past year. The Ministry of Trade has initiated this program through the Professor Andrew Ramroop under the Savile Row Academy to build up the creative sector in Trinidad and Tobago. It is an initiative to help build up the tailoring program, the tailoring industry in Trinidad and Tobago and beyond in terms of the Caribbean and hopefully the world, so that you all can gain experience in this craft and build up this sector so that we don't depend on the oil and gas and so forth. So I really, really appreciate, your commitment, the students, and your tenacity for being here and holding off for this program. We have the MP of Tunapuna, Mr. Esmond Ford, coming to address us soon. He's on his way. The Prime Minister sent his best wishes and his regards. He was hoping to be here. The Minister of Trade, Ms. Paula Gupiskun, also sent her best wishes and her regards. So, without further ado, we would like to welcome Mr. Andrew Ramroop to speak to you all at this presentation to the students before your graduation next 2 weeks.
Just to be sure that the way you're applauding Amanda or me. Good morning, everyone. And as Amanda have said, that the Honorable Prime Minister would have liked to be here. He sent a message no more than about half an hour ago saying that there's so many things that he's tied up with that he couldn't come. And of course, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, she also was enthusiastic about coming, but she's not able to come. Now, you all, you've spent the last year with me, like it or loathe it, you've had a year with me. And you've had many challenges along the way. We've had lots of opportunities as well. You've been guided as much as I could, and you've had opportunities to learn new things. And as you know, my personal mission statement is giving the customer more than they expect. And quite apart from learning to cut and fit and design and make suits, it is that you've had inspirational talks, you've had a little bit of history, and you've got lots and lots of other little add-ons. And today is my final add-on. Today is my final add-on. A lot of you, most of you, if not all of you, have sent me your mission statements. You've told me what your plans are for the future and so on. But what is important is how do you put your plans into action. And that's principally what I want to talk to you about this morning in the final presentation, is how do you develop your business. And what I've got here is, I'm going to give you first of all an overview, and then I'll go into the main presentation. And with the overview here, and someone's asked me, what is CMTT? Does anyone know what CMTT is? Just one person. There's a G missing there, CMGTT, Chaconia Gold, Trinidad and Tobago, just in case you didn't know, which in 2005 been presented to me by the then President Max Richards. Now what I'm about to talk to you all about really applies to just about any field of endeavor, any business. But I'm focusing, and you would take what you can from what I present today, adapt it, if there is anything at all. If anything new that you've learned, then that's great. If it's just one thing that you go away with today that you didn't know before, then it's worthwhile coming. But perhaps think in terms of your business and how you intend to develop your own businesses. And there are some areas in which the topics that I'm going to cover throughout this presentation that you all can look at, think, and I know on occasions when you see something that you're interested in, you kind of go away and you dream on it and you forget what's actually happening next. So if you've got your devices, perhaps you make a note and then you can actually come back to the notes later on, okay? So just try and, I mean, dreaming is great. I love to dream, but I tend to have plans first before I dream. I make my dream become a reality because I've planned. It's going through the process, you'll see that a lot of what we've discussed in the last year, I am going to go over to some extent, but not to any detail. I'm just going to touch on them, on the remarks and the instructions I've given you on the surface today. I'm not going to go into any granular details. The granular details will be for the main presentation. So here, these are the overview of what I'm going to cover today about organization, about focusing on your customers. And focusing on your customers are very, very, very important. In any field that you are, your customers are very important, because without your customers, you don't really have a business. And talking about benefits and features and choices of what you have to offer. I might be going through these very quickly, but I'll go through in a little bit more detail later on. This talk is planned for just about 25 minutes. I'm going to delay just a little because the local MP is on his way. I mean, he's being called as well by the leader, to meetings, but because he's the local MP and a very long-standing family friend, I know he would take the time to come, if only for a few minutes. But he did say his time is of the essence. And here, if you love what you do, then you get to fantastic places and meet amazing people. This gentleman in the middle there, who I look more than happy to be shaking his hand, that's the former Prime Minister of Britain. And the lady on your bottom left, I was receiving a prize for training, actually. The National Training Champion Competition I won in 2007. And that's Sue Barker on the left. She was a former Wimbledon tennis player. I don't know who the other guy is with the ball head, but and this. So there we are. That was just an overview of what I am going to present to you today. And if I can find my presentation without any challenges. So here we are. This is a really fancy title, isn't it? The Entrepreneurial Mindset, Developing Your Business for Long-Term Prosperity. And it's important that long-term prosperity is vital to the growth and development of whatever you get up to, your businesses. Now, most of you, if not all of you, have a pretty good idea of who I am, so I won't go into that. But since I began as Maurice Sedwell as an understudy in 1974, I have worked my way throughout within the company. And in 1982, I began to buy shares in the company. I bought 9% of the shares in 1982, and every year from then, I bought 9%. And so in 1988, I owned 45% of the company. In 1988, I wanted to go out on my own. And Mr. Sedwell said to me, if anyone should leave, it should be all of us, and you should stay. And if you can raise the funds to buy the rest of the company, then we would make way for you. And that's what I did in 1988. I borrowed and I begged and with some savings. At that time, I did 4 jobs. I was teaching at the London College of Fashion for 12 years, from 1976 to 1988, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I worked at Maurice Sedwell during the week. And on evenings, I was making trousers. And then on Saturday, I would finish work. I worked 5.5 days a week. On Saturday afternoons, I worked doing alterations at a shop. And on weekends, what was left of my time, I made suits for friends. So I was doing 4 jobs at a time. But saving was in my DNA. My father gave me my first dollar when I was 14 years old and opened an account at what was called a Bank of London and Montreal. And now it's First Citizens Bank. And that first dollar grew, and so from that young age, I had been saving. And so I had saved enough to put myself in a position to be able to buy the company in 1988. And then I stopped teaching at London College of Fashion because I became really too busy in paying the rent and paying the salary and getting involved in running a business. although I will be talking to you all about mapping your life and mapping your business aspirations and planning, I hadn't really planned all of these things to happen. I think to some extent circumstances helped me. It's timing. I was at the right place at the right time, and I was confident enough about my skills and what I was sharing with customers, or not selling, I would say, but sharing, is in that it gave me the opportunity, because I'd been so committed to developing myself as an expert in the field, that there was no choice but to sell the business to me. Because if I'd left, I'd owned 45% of the business. If I'd left in 1988, then the business would have wrapped up. So what I'd done, I took the business over, and I've grown it to now an international business. We are a household name in the households we want to be named at. I've exported to 60 countries, and our company represents something like 20%, 70 to 75% of the suits we make are exported outside of the EC. And a large chunk of that is the United States, and believe it or not, Nigeria. United States is my biggest export market, Nigeria second, and Middle East third for my overseas markets, and the rest are spread around the world. So I have spoken to you all time and time again about developing export businesses. Don't think about the guys along the street or even your own friends and family and so on. Think big, think beyond that. Think that you can actually develop businesses that's going to take you into the international market. The rest of the Caribbean, certainly, but and the rest of the Caribbean does not limit you to the English-speaking Caribbean. You've got all the rest of the Caribbean being the Spanish countries, Portuguese and so on. Think about Brazil. How far away is Brazil? Not very far. And one of the BRIC countries is Brazil. It's a huge country, just on your doorstep. Hundreds of millions of people. Then, of course, there's North America. There's Mexico. There's Canada. There are great opportunities there. You can build on that. And these countries that I'm mentioning, they travel all the way to London to see me to have their suits made. From Brazil, from Argentina, from Mexico. All of these countries I've mentioned. You name a country, I've made a suit for a customer there. So that's what you can do here in this very attractive area of Trinidad and Tobago, because you're on the doorstep. Now, the entrepreneurial mindset is the process of planning, mapping, and launching a new business. This activity is often born out of need, your inspiration, desire, or desire to make a difference, which is important. I've underlined that. Desire to make a difference in the marketplace. Why would someone come to you rather than someone else along the street? As an aspiring entrepreneur, what attributes does it take to develop a business? What would make your product or service stand out from others? What unique value would you offer, or do you offer? And I use the word unique. Very often people claim to be the best in their field. There are lots of people in the best in their field, but if you're unique, you're completely different. You're one-off. You're not sharing that space. You are unique. Offer the marketplace something unique. Now, why should a customer buy from you and no one else? And that's important. Why should they come to you and no one else? You have to be offering something that's different, something that's better, something that's unique. Now, how does someone become a successful entrepreneur? And these are all my personal notes that I've written, and I'm happily sharing it with you. Take pictures of the screen if you like, copy it, whatever you would like. It's here for you to use as in any way that you possibly can. Knowing where you are, knowing where you want to be, and knowing how to get there, that is what you need to develop your business. The business environment is more competitive now than it's ever been, especially with social media, internet, Instagram, Facebook, marketing yourselves and your business on these internet opportunities. I think it's great. You can grow and grow and grow. There are lots of businesses that are exclusively on the internet, and they don't even have a shop. I have customers, as I said, all over the world, and I go abroad to see customers. And do you know, some of them have never been to London, have never been to Savile Row, but they see me when I'm abroad. They've never been to London. And that's important. If you actually go out there and knock on doors and say, here I am, this is what I do, there are opportunities for you. The internet is like that. You know, you don't actually, there's no face-to-face connection. But yet still, people buy on the internet. They trust it. They pay up front and hope that they'll get their goods in the courier to them. And if you're still awake, whether you aspire to become a fashion designer, manufacturer, or service provider in the retail or a retail person selling in a shop, if yours is a business or a major international corporation, the same key characteristics apply. They're not very many. It's really your business structure, your organization, the people who work with you, those whom you train, those you impart your knowledge to. They're the backbone of your business, your standard of your production of service. It's not complicated. They're very, very simple, just 2 or 3 main things that, and at this juncture, James is here, I'd like to welcome in our midst our local MP, Mr. Esmond Ford. I did say the bond, you see that bond ring? Welcome, Mr. Ford, or Esmond to us. As you know, Esmond is a long-standing family friend, born and grown up in Tunapuna. So we all came from the hills. But Esmond would, at some point before he leaves, I'm sure he would like to share some wisdom with us. Yeah? Yes, so your standard of production is very, very important. You know, we talked a lot and we've learned a lot about cutting and fitting and making suits. But as I said before, lots of your customers would complain that they've been to some other tailor and the suit doesn't fit. Hardly ever complain about how it was tailored, how it was made. They complain about fit. So it's an area that you really have to focus. And the fitting and that silhouette is important to what you do. So your production and your service, that personal service is very important. I had one person that said to me that he went to have a fitting with his tailor, and his tailor was eating a piece of chicken while he was fitting his suit. Now, talking about service, you don't eat a piece of chicken or anything while your customer is there, while you're doing a fitting. That person is not in this room, but he's a practicing tailor in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, what is business? We all hear about business and we talk about doing business. What really is business? Some say business is about selling a tangible or intangible product. And I've actually put this in block bold. But should a business be based solely on the principles of selling, chasing the money, or should it be based on educating the customer, about informing the customer, about highlighting your core value before you engage in the sell? You know, if you tell a story, if you frame a narrative around what you do, why you do it, what you wish to achieve, then you communicate to your customer. I describe it as gentle duress. It's not hard sell. If you're communicating to them, sooner or later they'll want you to stop talking and they want to start buying. You've sold them your story. You tell them why you do what you do. You've communicated to them. You know, quite often someone would come into your shop or come to you and ask you, what's the price of a suit? And would you answer that straight away? Some of you might. I would recommend you don't. Because your first response would be, have you had a bespoke suit before? And more often than not, they haven't. Then you would tell them about your service. What distinguishes your service against anyone else's? And you communicate that. Then you communicate different qualities of materials that you would have on offer. You go on and give them the foundation of how our suits are made, the number of fittings that you do. Your suits are cut and fit in harmony with body shape, for style, for elegance, for comfort. You communicate with them in a way that they forget that they've asked you what the price is. So you're answering their question in a completely different way. So when you answer the actual question, then you've given them the information. But if you tell them the price first, then that's what stays in their mind, that what the price of this, I can't afford it. But they think about the service, about the quality of service that you give, and then they will then justify the price. I've got a million stories, and I won't tell you all of them now. I'll tell you just one. I had a customer that came in, he ordered a suit, and he wanted to have a suit for his father. And his father said he wouldn't have it. And it turned out later on that his father decided he wasn't going to have the suit because he thought it was too expensive. Anyway, the son persuaded the father to have a suit as well. And at the fitting stage, at the second fitting stage, the father said to me, I thought it was too expensive. That's why I didn't want the suit. But now, when I see what is involved in having the suit made, it's not at all expensive. And both of them went on to be customers for many years afterwards. Now, it isn't that they could not afford it. You know, because my usual remark is if you think it's too expensive, well, you can't afford it. But it turned out that they couldn't equate the price of a suit against the service, because the father didn't know what the service was, but the son knew. So it is important that you give information before you actually communicate what the price is. You have to believe in your product, though. You have to want to buy from yourself. You have to think in terms of it being exceptional, so that if it's good enough for you, it's good enough to sell. And your hands wouldn't tremble when someone pays you because you felt that you haven't deserved that money. You know, you should feel confident enough that you've earned every cent of it, or every penny. Now, servicing the customer is very, very important. Make your business customer-driven. Focus on giving your customer what they want and less of what they need. And less of what they need, I will repeat that, than what they want. Because I don't need another suit. I don't need another car. I don't need another set of furniture. But I might want it. Okay? I might want that Lamborghini or that Rolls Royce or that Ferrari or BMW. I might want it, but I don't need it. I've got a car. Esmond's got about 15 suits in his wardrobe, but he doesn't need another suit, but he might want another one. And I know before he leaves here today, your comment on his suit, he might want another one. Might want another tailor. So this is the difference between wanting something and needing it. So you've got to focus on your customer. Create that want in the customer. Now, this is some advice I'm going to give you, but I didn't take this advice, is target the millions and not the millionaires. There are more of them. There are millions of people, but not millions and millions of millionaires. So think in terms of that's what I meant by that statement. It's to target the millions and not the millionaires. That's what I meant when I said the rest of the Caribbean, North America, the rest of the world, is think in terms of focusing on the millions out there. Make your business customer-driven. A customer is the most important visitor. Some of you know why I'm smiling. You don't want to frown when someone comes into your business and say, what are you doing here? You're disturbing me. A customer is the most important visitor on our premises. She's not dependent on us. We are dependent on her. He is not an interruption to our work. He's the purpose of it. They are not outsiders in our business. They are an integral part of our business. Can you imagine if you had no customers, what you'd be doing? You may be an expert in every field, but what good is it if you have no one to serve? Very important. And you've heard this before. Create a mission statement. In terms of business matters, your entrepreneurial effort needs to have focus, a sense of direction, and be well managed. Plan and map how you go about bringing your vision into reality. The core of setting the direction is to create a shared vision within your organization. Let your staff, let your people know what your ultimate plans are. Create a mission statement with a sense of purpose that clearly defines what you are and your business is all about, and what benefits there are for your customers. Focus on the customers, what benefits there are. Agree on a set of values of what is important. At my company, we've trademarked Ultra Bespoke Tailors. You cannot use it. If you do, it will make us wealthy, because we might take you to court. But our mission statement is committed to excellence, giving the customer more than is expected. And what I'm doing with you all here today is giving you more than expected. You thought when you signed up for a tailoring course, you were going to learn to sew, right? You've learned to sew, and you've learned so and so. You've learned a lot of things. But this is a part of giving you more than expected. And in Savile Row Academy, is training the elite tailors of the future to the pinnacle of sartorial excellence. We have many more students than these here. In fact, there are a couple in the picture here that couldn't come today for whatever reason. Well, more than a couple. But here are a few of those sartorial artists of the future. And just in case you were bothered about not being in the picture, I thought I'd add some of you in as well. Right. Be organized. Your vision and values will not guarantee success if you have not created an effective management and administrative systems. This does not necessarily apply to businesses that are huge. Don't think of yourself as a one-man show and you're not a business. You are a business. Each of you is a business. So you don't think in terms of, oh, I haven't got any staff, so I don't have to be organized. Have a set of values. Just have your plan your core values, put them together, write it down. Have a plan, write down your plans and your goals so that you know what your target is for the next week, the next month, the next year, the next 5 years. My company, we've got a 5-year plan. And we intend in 5 years' time to double the value of our company. And I've doubled the value of that company since I took it over 30 years ago, August 1988. I've doubled the value of it. Every year, I've doubled the value. Now we've changed, every 5 years rather, I've doubled the value. And it's an enormous, valuable company now. I could actually leave it and let it run by itself, and I could spend a year with you all here, and it's still running. Make yourself dispensable in your business. Don't let the business be about you only. Work at your business, not in your business. Work at developing it. Learn to delegate. Get other people to do what you want to do, and you go out there and you bring the business in, which is what I do. Now, I've underlined strategies for increasing revenue streams. Why are we in business? Why are we working? Why are we working for someone else? It's because you want revenue at the end of the month. You are doing your own business now. You plan to have your own businesses. Increasing revenue streams is what is vital. And focusing on your customers, I said earlier on, it's something that's absolutely vital. Every business creates something of value that the marketplace either wants, desire, or need. You've got to create that want and that desire. Do you know all of your customers should be an ambassador? Everyone that you've made a suit for or have a communication or engage with, they should be an ambassador to your business. An ambassador is one who goes out and talks, who says positive things about you. Complaints, and I've put this in red, complaints. I regard complaints as consultancy, free consultancy. Very often, people might go to someone else and complain. They won't complain to you. And that complaint with someone else could damage you far worse than it possibly can. But if they come to you and they complain, you take that complaint seriously. And you'd never blame your staff, never blame anyone. Take the responsibility yourself. Because your customer did not go to your staff to have a suit made. So you can't say, oh, he didn't turn up, or he was drunk, or whatever. You can't give any excuses. You cannot make excuses. Complaints are very, very important. Make your customer's life better by offering something that stands out in a desirable way. There's a long list that I've written, and these are things that I practice. So what I'm sharing with you here today is what I communicate to my staff. We have a monthly meeting, or even now, I'm away. We still have meeting online. So we're communicating all the time. And I've underlined the last point that I've just mentioned. Every purchase your customer makes is your investment in an ambassador for your business. It is your business that you're growing and developing. Now I've listed out what somebody asked, what's the difference between benefits and choices and features? They'll think, they're all benefits. Yes, they're all benefits. But you know, as an owner-manager, you've got to be relevant to the marketplace. You've got to know what's actually going on in trends. Fashion is a moving target. If you want to be in the fashion business, there is the possibility. This is why we have sales. So often we have sales, because sales are on garments that are out of fashion or going out of fashion, and they've got to make space for new products. We are more into bespoke, we're more into personal customers, so it's not something that would affect us. But to a large extent, the mass market, they see what fashion trends are, and that's the direction they want to go to. That's what they're seeing, and that's what they want. So we have to be able to be aware of what's going on in the marketplace. How many of you buy magazines? Nobody does, but you go on the internet and on Pinterest, see so much of what's up to date and what's happening now. It should be a daily thing in your business that you go out there on the internet and you look and see what's happening and make your business relevant to what's happening out there. So you'd see our list here of benefits: individually designed, hand-cut and hand-tailored, fittings to ensure absolute perfection, and so on and so on. It just goes on and on. As to what? Because when that person comes in and asks you what's the price of a suit, you answer his question by telling him what the benefits are, what the features are, and what the choices are. You go on and on and on. Yes? You tell him your story. You create that narrative that's interesting. It doesn't have to be long, but just enough so that it informs. Investing in people. Now this is at Christmas time. I was doing a little bit of cooking, and I cut up the tomatoes and onions and the garlic, and I made a little Christmas tree. Now, as I was doing that and waiting for what else I was doing, I thought, I created a Christmas tree. Think outside the box. Don't put your people inside a box and expect them to think outside of it. Now, investing in people is of paramount importance. And they've got to know what's going on in your organization. Focus on people in your organization. The nerve center, the engine of any organization is its people. You have to value them. Not value them only in the salary that you pay them, but on occasions. I mean, when we first started this process, I invited everyone to breakfast up in Santa Cruz. Some of you did turn up. And then we went to the beach afterwards. This, for me, is value. This is adding value. This is giving you something more than you really expected. You didn't expect that. And some people criticize and say, why does a teacher want to be hanging out with the students? No, that doesn't wash with me. It is that we are a family. I just happen to be imparting my knowledge onto you. But having you with social time and so on, it's, and some of you have been to my rooftop. Yeah, it is engaging with people and giving them more than they expect from learning. Multi-skilling is very important. I went to, I think, immigration service. And the person I wanted to see, they said, oh, that person is sick today. They didn't turn up. So there was no one else to attend to me. Sometimes you go out, you want a service, and anywhere you want a service, oh, that person's not here today, or they're on holiday, come back another time. That happens a lot here. I've spent a year here, and hey, man, it's a culture shock that, you know, people don't turn up, they're not at work, so no one else can tend to you. No one else. In your business, someone comes in and they want a garment altered or ordered or made or delivered, multi-skilling. This is what I meant early on when I talk about informing your staff about what's going on. Multi-skilling is where I've got that in red. It is that if someone else is away for whatever reason, holiday, illness, traffic jam, whatever it might be, there's someone else to look after them. You know, there was a time I would be the first to get into my shop and the last to leave. Doesn't happen anymore. I roll in about 10, 11 o'clock. But I was the first to get in there. You know, that's the standard I set for many, 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 many years. And now my staff will be there early, and they will be there late. So this is important. Multi-skilling is of paramount importance to the people who work within the organization. Now, it is imperative that, and you see what I've put in red and bold, it doesn't necessarily mean it's more important than the others, but is that I wanted to highlight this. It is imperative that everyone in the business has positive beliefs about your business and display a positive attitude when talking to people outside of your business. Now, what I really mean by that is that I want people to say how great it is to work at Maurice Sedwell Limited, how great it is to work with Andrew, how great it is to work with you all, you know. That goes a long, long, long way. It also makes you happier in your business environment where you're working, because you know it's great to be there. So you want to be there. And if your people are talking positively about your business, then that they're actually helping it to grow. Those are very, very important values. Now, this last point I made here, sometimes, you know, or the second to last, sometimes we look to our colleagues to come up with new ideas for business. If you don't like those ideas, it's how you turn those ideas down that matters. Yes, you've got to turn it down respectfully if you've got different ideas. Sometimes new ideas don't work, but it's how these failures are treated that's important in making sure that people don't feel put down with their ideas. Now, ours is a much bigger business, so, and I do ask people, when I get asked a question, I turn it back around to the staff and I says, what do you think? I might have my own ideas, but quite often when they ask you a question, they have their own idea as well, and they want to tell you. So you turn around and you ask them, you get them to communicate. You must love what you do. Now, there is someone in that second picture down on the left there. They're really loving what they do, don't they? But that guy at the top left, he's, I mean, if he has a little corner, he'll sit on the ground and he'll work. You know, he's really loving what he's doing. Look at that big smile. He's sitting on the floor, the hardest floor. No, he's got a cushion, I think. But you know, it's enjoying what you do. This is focusing on what you do. So this is a distant camera. No one knew these pictures were being taken. And there we are. You know, it is that looking at people work and seeing that they are really focused on what's happening. The happiness factor is a very, very important feature of any successful business. The real test of any organization's success is what goes through the mind of the average worker when the alarm goes off on mornings. Do they leap out of bed and turn the snooze button on? Or they come out with enthusiasm saying, you know, I want to go back and do this all over again, what I did yesterday. I so enjoyed being in that environment. I so enjoyed being creative. That, I think, is of immense value. Yeah. I mean, I understand people do get tired and so on, but certainly, if you put your heart and soul into what you're doing, that enjoyment, it is, I mean, working is what gives us our entertainment, pays our bills. It's what we do. And working should not be the enemy. Work should not be the enemy. Work is something you do when you're not having fun. Stay green. At my company, our corporate color is green. We don't ripen. Because what happens after you ripen? you rot. So our corporate color is green, and we stay green. But in staying green, we keep challenging ourselves to become better, to be innovative, to be leaders in the field. On Savile Row, every building is a tailor. Across the road as well, every building is a tailor. Every building, along the whole street. Why do we have a 3-month waiting list? Why have we grown our company from what was $250,000 to some value at between $70 million and $120 million? Why? From just $250,000 in 1988. It is important you stay green. You be innovative. You be leaders in the field. We are known as the tailors, Tailor on Savile Row. If a tailor wants to go to another tailor, it's Maurice Sedwell. Being relevant, that's who we are. And always ambitious. The ambitious navigate through walls of barbed wire, while others search for a gate. That's the kind of ambition. If you consider where I came from and where I am in the field of what I do, you can all do it. You can all do it. This just happens to be here is where I'm going to be. After I leave here, I'm going to be in New York, Boston, Washington, Fort Worth, Texas, seeing customers, coming back with a huge amount of business. You all can do it. Alongside your mission statement, create a memorable acronym. Put it up on your wall. Create something that will make you feel that this is who you are and what you do all day and every day. So my acronym I'm going to share with you today, it's not that mysterious. T starts with T, and that's tenaciousness. And then Amanda mentioned tenacity at the very beginning when she talked about what you all have been going through in the last year. Tenaciousness, really important. Your willpower, your perseverance, transform your ideas and build a reputation to become synonymous with quality and service, with personality and soul. Put your heart into what you do. Enjoy what you do. Love it. Aspiration. Make a plan. Map your life. You've heard of business plans. Business mapping is the new thing. Map your business. So that's T-A. I don't know what the other letter is. I, yes. Inspire. Inspire your colleagues. Inspire those who work with you to become better than they can be. Allow them to think for themselves. You know, I used to go to Mr. Maurice Sedwell with ideas. Many years ago, I used to go with him with ideas. I said, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Why don't we change the buttons we use? Why don't we use silk instead of using cottons? You know, constantly talking with him, just talking with him. And that's why it was possible that the man whose name is on the door has said, if you can afford to raise the money to buy the business, then all of us should leave and you should continue it. And as a tribute to Mr. Sedwell, I've kept the name Maurice Sedwell because for me, it was to build a business for the future and not to promote Andrew Ramroop. It was to build a business. So in 50 years' time, when I walk in with my Zimmer frame and I sit down in my chair with my corpulency, I would look at the business and say, well, yes, that, you know, this is something that I've grown and I've developed. When I took that business over, it occupied 500 square feet of space. Now we have 3,000 square feet of space. And in addition to that, we had just about less than 5% export, and as I said, 70+% export. So that's T-A-I. L is to love what you do. Work is what you do when you're not having fun. Work, you know. So make work enjoyable, because it gives you all the necessities of life. So that's T-A-I-L, that's my acronym. opportunity. Be prepared to take opportunities. Some people say that, oh, you're lucky. But if you're prepared to take opportunities, preparedness and lucky and opportunities come together, creates your own luck. You have to create your own luck. So T-I-L-O-R. You must take some risks. And most times when you do take risks, there are rewards. Failure is real. I'm sure you've heard it said that when you hit rock bottom, that's a firm foundation of which to build on. When you have disappointments, when people say, no, if you could think in terms of, I would not ever go into it, but the kind of racism I experienced with my high, bushy, curly hair and beard and Mango Road accent when I went to England. Well, the accent is the same as it is now, but it is the kind of racism that I experienced, I've hardly ever shared with anyone when I was out there. But when someone says no to you, racism in all different forms, when someone says no to you, they're only detouring you to another direction. If someone turns you down for a job or an opportunity, they're doing you a favor because they're directing you someplace else. So they're actually mentoring you in some way. I have been told that I don't fit the profile. When I was looking for a job after I left the London College of Fashion, 11 interviews, turned down, 11. The only guy who would give me a job is Maurice Sedwell. Nobody else. Everyone turned me down. Anyone else says no to you, don't take it to heart. It's not a huge disappointment. That's not for me. I'll go someplace else. Now, if anyone else had given me, another company had given me a job, I would probably still be working for them. Well, I'm 66, I would have been retired, but still. You know, I would have still been working and working and working and working. But Maurice Sedwell gave me a job. So they were detouring me to another direction. E for enthusiasm. Customers buy your knowledge, your experience. Build relationships with your customers. And D is determination. Desire, make decisions, choices, commitment. Out of small acorns, huge trees will grow. When someone says no to you, don't be put off. Mirror that no and spell on, and keep your motivation alive. Thank you all very much. Now, if I may introduce our very good friend, everyone's very good friend. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Trinidad is probably, Tunapuna constituency is probably the largest. Is it the largest or one of the largest? Most marginal, yes, but one of the largest constituencies in Trinidad. And to have, it's often said, whoever wins, whichever party wins the seat in Tunapuna will determine which party becomes government. And I'm very, very pleased to introduce our very good friend. I mean, 11,000 very good friends, is it? But however many people voted for you. Esmond Ford, please.
Yes, special good morning to each and everyone. It's a pleasure to be here at MIC at the Bespoke presentation of Professor Andrew Ramroop. I'm a good friend of Andrew. I would have met Andrew probably about somewhere around 2011 when I was the local government councillor in Tunapuna. But I had known his brother, who is also in the audience, Stephen, for a longer period than that, because Andrew was basically up in London at Savile Row all these years. We have some similarities, as he said. We both come from Tunapuna, from the foothills of Mingo Road. We both passed for Hillview College, but I made my full term, you did not. I don't know if he gave you all that story, right? Because he left sometime in Form 1 or Form 2, somewhere. Or he didn't go at all, right? He didn't go at all. Imagine making that decision how much years ago? Middle of the last century. Right, middle of the last century, right? Making that decision, many years ago. But as he said, you need to know what you love, right? You need to know what you love, right? And Andrew, from pretty early, you know, the stories about taking his mother sheets and his mother pillowcases and, you know, trying to sew up and stitch up and do whatever the case to make his own suits from back then. And then he took the decision in order to go on to England. So this is the graduation class, all right, tailoring. You know, people may wonder, you know, why tailoring? You know, why are you going into tailoring? Tailoring might have no money or have no investment, as the case may be, you know, because we know of all the shopping online, buying ready-made stuff, as the case may be. But again, as Andrew said, you need to set your tone, right? I think you need to set your business, need to know what it is. Andrew's style of this bespoke, I remembered when I was selected to be the candidate and also to face the election and so on. He told me, say, I'll give you a suit, you know, and so on. And he just watched me and he told me my size, you know, 46R or whatever, the term they use, and what waist and so on. And he made the suit without even measuring me. And then when he came home, right, I went for the trial with my wife and so on, and, you know, we tried it on, and he just had one or two little pins to put in just to make some minor adjustments and so on. You know, and as the song says, you know, they show me the corner where the fella pass, you know, Nelson tune. How many of you all know Nelson? Liar, you know what I mean? Show me the corner where the fella pass and he'll make the suit. So Andrew's pretty good. To make a decision, you know, to move on in life, right, is always a tough decision. You know, why am I getting into this? Is it going to be profitable? Because no one would like to be a tailor not knowing where the income is going to come, right? It's all about customers, right? And you need to treat your customers. You know, there's a saying that a customer is always right. Now, we could debate that, right? Right? That is very debatable. But to a point, in many instances, the customer is always right. So sometimes you need to pull back, you know what I mean, and let the customer vent, let the customer be annoyed, say what he has to say, and then again, politely, you need to then bring it back home in order to ensure that you would keep some of the business that you would have. It's all about being organized. Some of the same thing that Andrew would have mentioned. If you're not organized, you're not going to get business. You come in your store and the place, shred all over the place, cuttings all over the place, you know what I mean? It's noisy, music loud, you know, things not happening, right? And Andrew always dresses in what he makes, as the case may be. So therefore, you are the first person to market your business. So you need to make sure that you're properly well attired, as the case may be, in order to ensure that, you know, you can make your sales. He spoke about things like the office. He talked about planning, right? Yes, you need to plan. You need to plan your day. You need to plan your schedule. And some of the same things that he mentioned are some of the things that I utilize as a member of parliament in my constituency of Tunapuna. Yes, it has been said for many years that who wins Tunapuna wins the government. Right? I was given the mantle in 2015 in order to bring it home, and I did bring it home. Right? I am a Tunapunian by birth, by education. I went to Tunapuna EC School. I went to Hillview College, St. Augustine Senior Camp, which is all within the thing. I used to work at National Insurance Board in the Tunapuna area. I come from a family, the Ford family, which is well known within the Tunapuna area. And I was able to create that divide, to minimize that divide, whether politically between the both parties, whether socially, whether racially, between the different races that we have within, even within among religiously, if you want to put that word, right? It is said that, you know, I mean, I'm one of the best members of parliament, but I cannot say it. It has to be said. I must not song my own trumpet, as the case may be. But the business you all are in, you all have to let people know that you all are good, because we have a cross-section of how much? About 25 of you all here? 25 to 30 of you all, right? That funnel that each one of you all are going to present has to be filled. Remember, Andrew said, you don't just go at the millionaires, you need to go at 1 million people. So the more people you can put in that funnel, as you know, the funnel at the top, the diameter is wide, and then it comes down slowly. So therefore, you need to pack that funnel to the top to ensure, because it may only drop out one by one by one, as the case may be. And we all know a bespoke, you know what I mean, tailor suit is not cheap, as the case may be. You know, you're paying for the quality, you're paying for the service, you're paying for the finesse that goes with it, right? That goes with it. So therefore, you need to ensure that you go at millions of individuals. I sat next to the young lady, and she already said remember, you'll be utilizing me. You know, so it's again, it's going at the millions. Be dispensable, And that's a term that I utilize. Everything that goes on in my office, all my staff knows. I cannot afford to go in my office every day, Andrew. I will be plenty much grayer than I am. I cannot go in my office every day. So I put aside 1 day per week where I see my constituents, and then all the work is delegated. Everyone in my office, from the manager to the cleaner, knows what goes on in my office. We have a system. You come in, you fill out a data sheet. We have a file, whatever the particular matter is, as the case may be. And as I tell people, you come into the MP office, nothing should be personal. I want to see the MP, I vote for him, and da, 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 da. Yes, I know you voted for me. But I also have staff in order to ensure that the work is done. Because after you see me, you may see me for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. All the information is then passed on to the relevant individual who sees about social aspect, who sees about agency housing, who sees about employment, who sees about infrastructure, as the case may be. I really don't do the work. I really don't do the work. I will manage and ensure, delegate and ensure that the work is done efficiently, and done on time. Done on time. And those are some of the same principles that Andrew would have talked about. Multi-skilling. Again, I have to be here now. You know what I mean? This is my third stop for the morning. Right? Just as I was coming there now, a guy from the St. Mary's Chaconia Children's Home stopped me. He says, "Man, what are you doing today?" Well, today's Parliament and I'm hustling home now to go to a graduation and so on. He said, "Well, we cooking, the manager and the management of the home, they cooking and thing, pass in for a little while." So I told him, I said, depending on how it go, I will run in this. Sometimes they just want to see you. They just want to touch you. You know what I mean? Because as an MP, you're doing a good job, they're satisfied with you. And then again, hometown boy now, you know, he's a homie. You know, so everybody wants to be there. So hopefully when I leave here, depending on the time, I will just run in back to the Chaconia Orphanage in Chaconia, spend a 5-10 minutes with them, and then head down in order to Parliament, as the case may be. So you got to be able to multi-skill, must be able to do everything. Again, you know what I mean? I don't consider myself to be the individual who knows all, but I was able to educate myself. Because being a counselor from 2010 to 2015 for 5 years, right, I love my job. Andrew spoke about the word love also. The idea of being passionate in what you do. I don't go into anything unless I am assured of what I'm going into. So I take my job seriously. I was able to edify myself with regards to all aspects of governmental agencies, social welfare, community development aspects, immigration aspects, security aspects. So when an individual comes to my office, I may not be able to give you exactly what you came for, but I'll point you in the right direction in order to ensure. And those are the things, because the person coming to your tailor shop is one thing he coming for, right? He's coming to get a pants, a suit, a shirt, a bib, or a lapel, or whatever the case may be. He's coming to get something, a scarf. So when he comes into your store, you need to be presentable. You need to be ensure that, you know, it's the ambience, the setting, the type of music, the type of greeting, as the case may be. You know, they say that usually when you go to church, the usher could determine whether you will come back. Not so? Because the first person you greet in someone's office will determine whether you'll come back or not. I have staff meeting too. I try to have a staff meeting every Tuesday, right? Because it's usually on a Tuesday I see my constituents. So every Tuesday when we finish 4:30, 5 in the evening, we sit down for half an hour, 45 minutes. How today went? Feedback. What we did. When Mr. Ford, I find you talked to that person a little rough. The lady left and she didn't seem satisfied. She slammed the door, as the case may be. It's all about attitudes. It's all how we turn in the morning. Yes, we know when we first thing we turn in the morning, we're supposed to give God thanks. But some mornings, you know, you get up and things are tight, you're hustling, you're late, you're on the move, as the case may be. So I ensure that when you come into my office, that politeness is important. Make sure you greet that person good. What's the procedure? Yes, the MP is not here. And from the time they hear the MP not here, but can I help you? Even though the MP is here, we have a staff, you can speak to the manager, you can speak to this person, whatever is the aspect, so that we go about it as the case may be. You cannot be in the tailor shop every day. Right? I think in our system here in the tailor shop, basically, I remember, you know, going by my tailor, it's just one man. He has a shop, you know, he do usually have an assistant, a secretary, as the case may be. But probably, as you all are introduced to Bespoke, we need to lift the bar, carry the level up, put it up a notch, and be different. Because you need to ensure now that the person not going by Bradford's, the person not going by Genora's, you understand, the person not going online. It's a tough decision, eh? It's a tough market. Right? We heard of him going to Texas and New York and Orlando and Europe and those different places. He ain't going shopping. When I say going shopping, he ain't going to Lime and going to thing as he gets maybe, but he's going to bring business to his business. You know what I mean? He's going to bring business to his business. Right? We talk about the idea of complaints. Most time people will complain not of the positive things, they complain of the negative things. Many times people come to my office and, you know what I mean, they get through with whatever, whether it's a job, whether it's a house, whatever it is, and few come back to say, Mr. Ford, thanks. Not that I'm looking forward to it, but there's the whole principle. You know what I mean? That's to say thanks, I got through with the job, you know what I mean? I got the interview, I got through with the food card, I got through with the social welfare, you know what I mean, as the case may be, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I gain my satisfaction unto God, and at the office, we are satisfied for what we are doing. Feedback, very important. You need to ensure that you get any feedback on how things are going, what you did, you know what I mean, the complaints, and you know, how you handle it as we go along. Love what you do, be passionate. Put your heart into what you do. All those things were mentioned by your professor, right? It's not about reinventing, and everything is there. It's just that how we decide to use it. How you decide to utilize, to use it. As I mentioned to the principal at the Elohim Learning Center earlier, I didn't want to come to the walkabout this morning. On a Friday, I have a legitimate excuse. Once is a Friday. I have Parliament, the business of Trinidad and Tobago, have me excuse. But I have learned two things throughout within this particular career. You do not disappoint literature, and you do not disappoint seniors. So I try my best to fit in. Those around the middle class, I could fight my way through you all, you know what I mean? But you don't disappoint literature, because these ones are going, Mr. Ford, wait, now, I didn't see you on TV, Mommy, look the man from TV, Mr. Ford, Mommy dies with MP, and things like that. Not that I'm doing it for favor, but I'm just doing it because it's normal. Yeah, I ain't want to bash the other MPs as the case, but, you know, people have said it, you know, Mr. Ford, you're the MP, we seen you in this, in that, you know, we try to be, because part of being a member of Parliament is to satisfy your constituents. Do wait until the next 5 years come up. I'll be so disappointed by the next 5 years come up and I am selected as the candidate in order to go up again. You know, I go in front of somebody and say, Mr. Ford, will you come out? I haven't seen you for the 5 years. That's a blow. That will be a big blow, because I tend to thrive on being that I am accessible. Yes, you cannot see me every day as to when I was a counselor, but you know, we need to move on. Right, we can talk about the idea of build relationships with your customers. See that key? That is key. I spent 17 years at Neil & Massey at Automotive Components in Arima. I started off as a normal salesman, and I reached as far as Manager Services Division, running the whole network of automotive components, San Fernando, Port of Spain, Central, and Arima, being the services manager, managing all the service center with regards to vehicles and so on. And it's all about relationships. You need to forge relationships, because each one of you are, I don't know, the professor might be able to say, maybe on the same level. But what is going to determine who I'm going to choose, whether it's the male, whether it's the female, whether it's the younger guy, whether it's the East Indian guy, whether it's the African guy. You know, what's going to determine who I choose? That relationship that you're going to develop with that person. I remember when I went for the interview at Neil & Massey, basically after 15 minutes in an interview, you know what I mean, they would know whether they want you or not. See, anytime you start to go after 15 minutes and 20 minutes, half an hour, you're going into a discussion. Things have already started. But basically after 12, 10, 15 minutes, the person who interviewed you would know whether they want you or not, as the case may be. I remember when I went to the interview, I stayed in the office there with the guy, the CEO and the marketing manager, an hour and 15 minutes. So at the end of it, you know, he asked me, so here's my next. I said, well, I just need to know when you're hiring me. You know what I mean? That's it, because we after the interview, it was just a discussion, and we talk and so on and so on. And yes, within a week, I was hired at Automotive Components. It's a job that I left on 3 occasions. Andrew, I left Neil & Massey on 3 occasions. They could not have believed that I was leaving the job. I'm a madman, you're jumping off a precipice, as the case may be, anything may be. And after a year, I was able to go back, got my job, I left again, and then I was able to go back because, why? They considered me a good salesman. They considered me a good marketer. From when I went in, from when I started, and within those private groups, all they look at is the bottom line, the dollars and cents that are coming in. And I travel the world, bringing in sales, selling equipment, selling batteries, and that sort of thing. And I sure if I need a job there in Neil & Massey now, I can walk back into Neil & Massey. So you need to be good at what you're at. So you are tailor, be good at a tailor. I'm the deputy speaker of the house. They say I'm doing a good job. I need to be good at it. I'm in charge of the quorum. So it could be from the prime minister to the finance minister, the opposition leader, whoever. I am doing my job. I'm in charge of the house. Respect me. I may not be the prime minister, but in that instant, the prime minister needs to listen to me also. That's my job. So it's between a rock and a hard place. Because if I don't do my job, the media is going to pick me up. Not so, if I don't do my job. But then if I do my job, the prime minister could also pull me up to, hey, what happened to you, boy? You know what I mean? You embarrassed me, you know, that's the case for me. But that's my job. As member of parliament, I take my job seriously. So you as a tailor have to take your job seriously. And then representing Bespoke, representing Maurice Sedwell, representing Professor Andrew Ramroop. You don't want your name out there to be dragged down. You don't want it to be in the canal. You need it to be up there. So steady standards. Right? You understand you'll be graduating in March 9th, somewhere there. Again, be proud. Hold up your certificate, frame your certificate, put it up in your office. You know what I mean? Do your thing. You're coming to work on time. You're not coming shabby. You're not late. We know you cannot be on the job, everything. We know that, you know what I mean? Time is time. Appointment is 9. The person coming for 9, person coming for 10. Because remember, the person is paying a different price to what they will be paying by the ordinary backstreet tailor. To my tailor, who they call Dick. I had a tailor called Dick. You know what I mean? As the case to me. And then tailor also has a stigma in that they never deliver on time. Yeah, coming to think of it, it now just hit on me as I call my tailor name. Never deliver on time. Never. I see you all laughing. Yeah, there's a serious stigma. Hey, my suit. So sometimes you have to tell a little white lie. I need my suit next week. But really and truly, you need it by the end of March, if you understand what I'm saying. End of February. So you have to get them at least 2 weeks. So that's a stigma you all need to get away from. That's a stigma you all need to get away from. You have to be all shaking it. It just hit on me as I call my tailor named Dick. Yeah. Dick. You know what I mean? So those are some of the things. You need a relationship. It's all about relationship. I could have left Neil & Massey, go to Sabga, go to wherever, and customers would have followed me. Because why? I forge a relationship. I get you to like me, and we relate. So whether I selling cricks, or I selling bourbon, or I selling whatever, you know what I mean? You're going by what Esmond is doing. Right? As the case may be. So I think, you know, that's it. So be proud. You know what I mean? I think, and then the last term, I also wrote that down. The ambitious navigate through walls of barbed wire while others search for a gate. Very profound statement there, Andrew. Yeah, coming to think of it. We tend to always look for the gate while all the positives could be through the barbed wire. So therefore, you need to go through the nooks and crannies. Don't judge anyone. I remember a friend of mine lost a sale with a guy. You know, sometimes those when those guys had now started this work in the bamboo, men like Bix and so on, they used to go with bag of money in Neil & Massey and those places, slippers on the foot, short pants, and the bag of brown bag with money to buy vehicles, cash and so on. Yeah, and everybody coming, nobody watching them. Walking around and thing and that sort of thing. It's somebody who came and recognized him, one of the salesmen, and recognized him, and he purchased the car cash. And big incentive, it gives me. Form no judgment. Because you could see me looking well dapper and thing now, as Andrew mentioned. And tomorrow you might see me by the market, short pants, a gaiters on my foot. You might pass and see me saying down on the road on Green Street filling out a passport form. Because I'm a hometown boy. You might see me walking on Mingo Road, eating a little dal puri, right on the road, sign up there talking with Mr. Tulsi or Visham or one of those guys. That's me. That's me, don't form the judgment. You know what I mean? This morning I spot out on my little track pants, I had a little tam on my head, and I moved down the road. I mean, you must be able to make that adjustment. Know your customers. So I know who I could go by dressed as accordingly. You know what I mean? I know who I could do by. I know my clientele. My clientele need to touch me. My clientele need to touch me. From the time you can't touch the member of parliament for Tunapuna, don't get in the business. From the time you can't touch him. So the case may be, come 2020, we'll see Whether it is that all the people who are saying Esmond Ford is doing a good job, 2020 will determine whether they'll have to put their finger where their mouth is, as the case may be. But God is in charge. So thanks for the invitation, right, to Savile Row, to Maurice Sedwell, to Professor Andrew Ramroop, Lisa Marie Daniel, General Manager, Fashion TT. All right, nice. Amanda Williams, Project Officer. Right, I think I'm making out one or two of the designers when we were up at Brand Lara. That's so, yeah, when we were up at Brand Lara when it was launched, where I did the featured speaker representing the Prime Minister. Yes, yes, yes. So it's a pleasure being here. All right, and be successful. Be successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esmond. Now, we've got not very long to go again. It's just to have remarks by one of the students. We had been hoping that certain people would be here. Esmond, you weren't aware of this, but we had invited the Prime Minister as well as the Minister of Trade and Industry. They both wrote to me this morning and said that they weren't able to come, but wish us well and so on. We have students' portfolio viewing after the student representative speaks, and there are refreshments at the back as well. And to some of you who've got your models here, we've also got a photo shoot with your suits. Now over to Jennifer. Jennifer Grant, thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I am happy that our MP is still here, because what he said, that he also speaks to the Prime Minister, we had decided to leave out some of what we were going to say, but I will touch on it a little bit. I know you have to leave, so I'm going to go to that first. This program is one of the best things that has happened to our country in recent times in the area of skill. And what we desire, as you understand and you have experienced Bespoke, we cannot learn and have all that we need in 1 year. So what we are desiring, we were going to be a little more subtle if the Prime Minister was here, but we don't have to be subtle now. What we are desiring is that the government would be willing to continue funding for us to do our advanced program. What we thought is that coming from Professor, all right, we will look at it, but coming from us, and what we really want to tell the Prime Minister, then he might say, all right, we're going to push it. So we are asking you to remember us when we get an opportunity to speak with him, for you to put in, yes, Prime Minister, I think we need, and then you said he has to listen to you at certain times, use that time. So we are so happy that you are here. So we want you to take the time when it's your time and tell him, you got to do this. Thank you, sir. I wanted to get in that just in case you're going to run away, all right? Okay. So now we have already greeted you. We are thankful that the manager of Creative TT is here and the project officer. To my fellow trainees, to my fellow colleagues, I'm a teacher, so those words will always be coming up. And to our beloved professor, and our visitors, and also the media. We want to thank you for supporting us. And I'm speaking now on behalf of all my fellow classmates. Because we had to change what we are going to say for a while, we would have an opportunity to bring it up in the future. But all I want to do this morning, or this whatever time of the day it is now, is to piggyback on some of the things that Professor had to say. Two things that have stood out to me, and I know it also stood out to my fellow colleagues, is love what you do. Love what you do. When you love what you do, your hubby pays you a salary. And that is so exciting. We would never have to work a day in our lives. Secondly, this is the one that excites me as a Trinidadian and know it's going to put us over the edge. Give the customer more than they expect. We don't do that in Trinidad. We even give them less than they expect. So we are going to give the customers more than they expect. It is one of the most tremendous things I have ever heard, and we need that desperately in Trinidad. Do you know if we say good morning in Trinidad now, we look like we're from a different planet? So could you imagine if we actually take this and run with it and give our customers more than they expect of us? We would be seen as aliens, but good aliens at that. Another thing is, never blame your staff. Take responsibilities. Do not make excuses. These, to me, everything else that was said pivots on these statements. To me, everything that was explained is actually, this to me is the theme of everything that was explained. Everything that was explained. So if we were to build on this and do what we are supposed to do, we would be successful in an unprecedented way. Another thing, bespoke. Bespoke tailoring. Let me tell you all, when we came into this program, yeah man, we're excited we could do it. We did not expect that we would have had to work so. I have never worked so hard. I went to university. I work in the States. When I worked there, I said, I never worked so hard. And all of us, every time we think, yes, we're going to put on the lining, is another stitch. It's like it never finishing. That is bespoke, and that's what we are giving our customers. Do you know that when a bespoke suit is made, our Honorable NP and Mr. Ramroop, they could look like twins. But there is no way, none the same height, same look, same everything to our eyes, but they could never wear each other's suit. That is bespoke for you. That is bespoke for you. And that is what we are learning here. And could you imagine we doing that for our customers? Another thing I want you all to know. When we, in Trinidad and Tobago, which is our goal and our dream, to have a whole bespoke organization, I'm not giving it a name yet because it's not time for that yet. But when we create our guild, one of the things that we have discovered is that besides London, with Savile Row, Trinidad and Tobago will be the next stop for people to come and actually get a bespoke suit. And we are not going to make the mistakes of the past, because we have had organizations in this country with master tailors and it died because they made the mistake of not having posterity. We will not do that. We are going to train tailors so that the skill could continue. Let me tell you something that we are so proud of. We have a student from India in our class, Adi. You know how we had to come here? There was no room in Savile Row in London. And where did he come for training? In Trinidad and Tobago. Adi, could you stand up for us? And listen to me, I'm not saying he was living in Trinidad and you're doing the program, you know. He came from India to do it here. It can't get better than that. I feel so good about that, eh? So you know what that means? We are going to cover North America. They're going to come here from everywhere to do their training. I mean, I know the Caribbean is the Caribbean, but sorry, Trinidad is Trinidad. We have a student from Barbados. They have no bespoke in Barbados. Could you stand up for us, please, Mr. Oscar? And he's not living here. He came here from Barbados to do this skill. He don't want to go back, but we're sending him back so it could continue over there. Right? He said he wanted to go back, but we know he don't want to go back. But we want it to be expanded now, so we're sending him back. All right? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is just a snippet of what we have, and we're excited. You see how my eyes big? It means everybody's eyes is like that. We are excited, we are ready to go, but we need the further training. We can't make a level on we can't make a suit on our professor level without we getting another deep training, right? Yeah. So please, yeah, right. He said, write it, you all. Right. Right? So we are going to get it. Thank you for indulging me for just those few minutes. Thank you very much.
That was fantastic. Great spokesperson. I think I said early on that portfolios, for those who are visiting, to come have a look at, see what's been doing. There's a photo shoot that's planned. Is that right, Richard? And some of the models that are possibly here, I think, are they around? So help yourselves, have some refreshments.